I'm not a religious person, but I am a very spiritual person. Though that part of me wavers in life, I think it's an essential pillar of my philosophy, the thing that keeps me going. I make videos about emotional intelligence every day, and today I'm going to talk about this chapter in Khalil Gibran on prayer. Then a priest said, "Speak to us of prayer." And he answered, saying, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy in the days of abundance. For what is prayer but the expansion of yourself into the living ether? And if it is for your comfort to pour your darkness into space, it is also for your delight to pour forth the dawning of your heart. And if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, he should spur you again and yet again, though weeping, until you shall come laughing. When you pray, you rise to meet it. Meet in the air those who are praying at that very hour, and whom, save in prayer, you may not meet. Therefore, let your visit to that temple invisible be for naught, but ecstasy and sweet communion. For if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into it to humble yourself, you shall not be lifted. Or even if you should enter it to beg for the good of others, you shall not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. I cannot teach you how to pray. God listens not to your words, save when he himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forest and the mountains. But you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God, who art now winged, who art our winged self, it is thy will in us that willeth. It is thy desire in us that desireth. And it is thy urge in us that would turn our nights, which are thine, into days, which are thine also. We cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs before they are born in us. Thou art our needs, and in giving us more of thyself, you givest us all. Man, Al Mustafa's gone through some shit. Al Mustafa. This man clearly has had very, very difficult situations come up in life in which he's had to wonder. And if any of us have gotten into that scenario where we feel like we're kind of at the end of our rope and we begin to pray, my philosophy has always been that God helps those who help themselves. And though I'm not particularly religious, meaning I don't necessarily believe in one divine being the epicenter of everything and kind of controlling the ebbs and flows of life, I am a firm believer in manifestation. I am a firm believer that an individual can make a real difference if that individual knows what they want and is aligned with their values, the reason they enjoy living. And I do believe that the concepts discussed in a lot of the religious texts are moral guidelines for the essence of humanity, and that there are parables and stories that really can serve to make life better if used again with our passion and our urge. And I think even when it comes to our own life, if we go at it almost invisibly, without that ego, that lust, that desire, those 7 deadly sins, whatever. And we really try to push ahead on what we feel inside is the most satisfying to us, that our prayers will be answered, that the things that we want in our life will come true. And I'm getting kind of goosebumps talking about this, because the reality is all of this stuff is written. Some human being wrote this book. Some human being wrote the Bible. Sure, perhaps God was writing through them. Perhaps God was writing through Khalil Gibran when he wrote this stuff. The reality is, our conception of religion, our conception of spirituality, our conception of humility and pursuing and greatness comes from through the conduit of humanity, through the understanding of humanity, the literal visual sensation, the auditory, the taste, whatever it is. It comes from the perspective of humanity. And though it seems singular, it seems speciesist, I'm a firm believer that these thoughts, though transmitted through human scope, human lens, are actually things, laws of nature in a sense, laws of the universe in a sense. A star has the gravity to make other things orbit around it. Is it not satisfying perhaps its will on the universe to hold everything in accountance? The sun, I wonder if the sun is happy to have the earth around, or for things that these microbes are petulant and arrogant. I'm sure it does. There is tremendous peace that comes with moving forward in our vision and giving it almost the invisible hand, almost the automation that's required to move forward. Why a lot of successful people advocate for emotional regulation in business and in families and in relationships and in sports, whatever it is. Why it's so very important for us to understand individually how much we're allowing our egos to flow into what we create or what we do, or how much we're allowing our emotions, our worldly influences, our environment into what we're trying to accomplish, and how oftentimes that gives us fruit, gives us vision, gives us insight, but it can also lead us down a path where we are not feeling each of those, the growth and the process, that we are not genuinely taking time to appreciate where we're going. I believe Gibran is someone that manifested his life as an artist to be remembered all this time later. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you're watching these videos, you might be one of the many people that has read Gibran's writing or has come across his artwork and feel that it is enough to enter the temple invisible. The other thing I wanted to talk about here is always the optimist. He says, and if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, he should spur you again, yet again, though weeping, until you shall come laughing. People that laugh the most in life are often the ones that go through a lot of shit. Why do they go through that? Perhaps environment, perhaps situations, sure, but probably just a raw desire to enjoy life, I think, is a necessity, the baseline of getting to the point where we're laughing a lot more. I came across something in a book recently that I'm reminded of. The guy made the claim that laughter laughter has been around in humanity for a long, long time. It's actually around in a lot of animals and nature in general. And there will probably exist in the future for millions of years. And now I'm coming to believe that laughter is a byproduct of taking a hold of life. Genuine, deep laughter comes from being okay with the ebbs and flows. And I think we should be proud of ourselves to genuinely laugh, to allow our hearts, our souls to open up to other people, to the environment, to the world. And that gratefulness perhaps should fall into our prayers too. Thankful for all the beautiful things that we have in life. He says, I cannot teach you to pray in words. He says, I cannot teach you to pray in words. God listens not to your words save when he himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains, but you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence all this stuff. That essentially they are God, essentially. That they are one with the universe, one with the environment. And I think it's very, very important. So actually, a religious man also talked to me, one of my mentors, and I said, there's certain gifts that people have in life. There's certain things that I feel I have that other people perhaps don't, and that it's my gift. And he said that in the Quran, I believe, there's essentially these angels, these different types of prophets, and each of them have their own skill to give to the world. And at the time, I didn't realize how much it's going to connect to perhaps all of the amazing people that I'm going to meet in my life that are going to help me establish what I'm trying to do. But I do believe that there are, to a degree, angels on this planet. That there are perhaps catalyst people like you watching these videos that make all the difference. That are on a mission to fulfill, I guess, the deeper vision of the planet. And that's a spiritual belief, vaguely religious belief. But why bound it? Right? If it's something that contextualizes a complex situation, why split hairs? Anyway, if you found this interesting, if you are religious, if you are spiritual, if you are not, if you're very atheistic, please tell me what it is that you perhaps agree with in what I've said, if you have made it through all the way. I'd like to have a conversation about the concept of entering the temple invisible. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. If you have a second, check out this video. And if you have a second, please smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe. Share it with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself.